Welcome into my office. Brian here with you. We're going to examine this former ledger. I say former because this has been turned into a scrapbook of sorts by a very early owner. It's got the original leather binding with this little closure type flap here. There is a pocket at the front where the glue has dried on the leather, and so it's separated like this, but it could easily be reattached if you wanted here. The original marbled end papers like so. This book here is, well, if we go to the back of it, you will see actually that it lived its life initially as an account book here for a business. This was locks and so on. And someone has pasted over most of the pages with all of these 1831 and 32 hand-colored female fashion plates. There are, within this volume, 108, give or take one or two. I counted them, and I counted to 108 of these, and they have been affixed over the ledger using, no doubt, an organic glue of the 19th century that, if you so desired, you could soak all of these out. I think these would float right off, and then you would have the ledger plus all the plates loose, like this one right here, for instance, you see, is just coming right off. Like so, and so is this one here, actually, like this. And I'm going to now basically just flip through this very briefly, like this, so you can see how the whole album survives. Some of the plates are actually just completely free and loose, like that pair right there. And some pages are loose and so on. Here we go. There's some of the account book there. You see, like this plate here has just popped right off the page, and so has this one. So I think this glue here is would readily. And now here we have a little grouping of plates that the former owner evidently never got to affixing within the album, like so. It's a lot of fashion plates, yeah, and they're quite nice. The majority of them appear to be from 1831 and 32. A number of them have dates printed at the bottom. I mean, they could be 1830 or 33 or 34. That's really not, it's splitting hairs is what that is. But I'm sure they could all be identified by using a reference book for what exact the source is. I just haven't done that yet, but it wouldn't be that hard to do. A minor little mystery for an owner. Here we go. This one here is 1832 by Henderson of London. So there we go. That's a good clue to the source. And like so. Like this. There are a lot of them in here. This is really quite an interesting album. I've seen this quite a bit, where old ledgers are repurposed as scrapbooks. And it's a very interesting sort of practice in the 19th century, because I think that to buy an album like this, you know, a ledger, would have been fairly expensive. And a ledger like this, once it was all used and perhaps then a few years old, would have been considered of minimal value. And so it was just made sense to repurpose them as scrapbooks. Yes. Whereas today we would never consider such a thing probably. We would just go simply to a craft store or any, Target or Walmart and just sort of buy a new scrapbook for not much money. But back then, paper was expensive, books were quite expensive. And so what we get is this reusing of scrapbooks, of ledgers as scrapbooks. Yeah, again, 1832 down there is the date on that print. Yeah. coming to the end of the fashion plates. There's something also a little interesting here at the end of the book. Once the ledger stops, there is this catalog here. It's an illustrated catalog for cooking implements, metalware, and then there's also this list of prices of goods kept in stock for this particular merchant here, like so, and someone has even annotated it. So my guess is that the ledger somehow relates to these goods that were available. So we see doorknobs, buttons, hats, and coat hooks, and so on. And then we've got this little bit here. Interesting. Some roofing and architectural elements, and hooping, and ship's bolts and chains and thimbles. And there you have seen dry sundries. There you've seen how it survives. And if this album interests you, it is available now online from me, Brian DeMambro.